In this video on GetResponse, we're going to look at creating a new message, which GetResponse calls a newsletter, using the automatic email creator. So this is your account on GetResponse, and you go to Message and Create Newsletter. Alternatively, we could click Send Newsletter down here to create a new newsletter, and we're taken to this screen, which has two choices: either the new email creator, or if you are skilled in HTML, you can use the HTML source editor. You can also go to the previous version of the editor, but we're going to use the new email creator in GetResponse. So we'll click on that, and then we're brought to the next template page. So the first thing to notice here is that the previous template that had messages and contacts up here is now gone. It's been replaced with the Settings template, Create Recipients, and Summary tab. If you need to get back to the home page, you can use the Exit key that's right up here. Okay, so let's actually click on the Exit button here, and you can see it brings us back to the dashboard. So I'll just click on Create Newsletter. I'll use the new email creator, and here we are, right back where we were. So the first field you have to fill out is the message name. Now the message name is not seen by any of your subscribers. This is only for you to keep track within GetResponse as to what your message is going to be called. I'm just going to type in just some gibberish here. It doesn't matter at this point. The subject line is what your recipients will see in their email subject header. So make this descriptive of what's going on here. You can also choose to personalize it. It means you can take in a name, first name, last name, whatever fields are actually entered within GetResponse. You can customize those fields, have those fields entered into the subject line here. And when you click one, it just fills it in. So any text that comes before it goes before the name, comes after it goes after the name. Again, I'm just going to delete this and type in some gibberish here. This is the From field. This is what will appear in the email account from the recipient. So you should be very careful about where this comes from. You can also change the reply to message if you would like. When you do that, you can set up, for instance, a separate inbox that is not monitored, that only has emails that are coming in. Then you have a couple of options here. You can track on click-through, which is the number of people who actually select your email. And open it up. And you can go to Google Analytics, and I would turn that on because it's very helpful to have those things. You can also add a Twitter and Facebook account to link to these emails if you want to. And we're going to select Next. When we select Next, it takes us to their templates page. Now they have a lot of templates here booked by category. You can also start from scratch, or you can load a template, or you can import from a different area. You can also go to a plain text editor, or just to create a plain text email. You can do an HTML code editor, or you can order a custom template through GetResponse. We're going to select from a nonprofit template here. Now we're going to take one of their pre-existing templates and play around with it. Let's select this one, and we'll click Use Template, and it pops up in their email editor. Okay. So the first thing you have to be sure of is that make sure everything is loaded in your email browser. When you take your cursor without touching any buttons on the mouse and you just highlight over every section, these blue boxes appear around every single image or group of text that are in there. And I have several options associated with them. You can move things around, you can save it as a snippet, you can delete it, you can expand it as a new column, or you can expand it as a new row. Now let's look at these ones first. These don't do what you may expect them to do. When I click on this, it's going to duplicate this image down in between these two boxes, just like so. And so you get a continuation of the image, but they're two separate boxes. So you have the ability to edit text in this one separately from editing text in this one, right here. Okay. If you don't want that, you can click the trash can and you can delete it. If we'd like to move it around, we can take this here, click and hold, and we can move it around if we want to. Now you will see that the text will move around like that, and then it will place it there, and we can move it back, just like that. Okay. Before we get into changing any of the edits here, we should take a look at what is up at the top here. This is an especially important component. This is the number of pixels that your message is wide. If I go to increase this number here, you can see it expanding widthwise, and everything increases in size. Whether you're creating an email from scratch or you're using one of their pre-existing templates, I highly encourage you to decide on your message's requirements before changing anything in the email itself. Know how wide you want your message to be. Set this number either by highlighting it and typing in a number or using these up and down keys to change it, and decide on this first and then go ahead and modify anything you would like to. Okay. Once we've selected this, it's a matter of, once this has been decided, we have a couple other options. We can insert an image, we can set some spacing, add a border, set the border radius, and we can also change some alignments. And these apply to the entire message itself. So when we want to work on any one portion, we have these options available to us. If I click in within one of these here, just one click, we get the cursor and we get all the ability to add, to edit text and to add images. So I can choose a different text, I can increase or decrease its size, and we can go bold, italics, etc. We can change the alignment, we can add a bulleted list, an ordered list, we can add and insert a link, or we can personalize things further. And this is works just like a regular text editor. We can add it, we can delete it, we can type in whatever we want, hold down the delete key, go all the way to the bottom, and that's how that works. So let's just type in some stuff here, and there's my new text. Okay. So if I want to change this, I can select it, and we can go to a different text if we want. We can decrease or increase its size. We can make it italics. We can underline it if we want to. We can bold it if we want to, etc. Let's turn all of that off. Okay. Couple little bits of quirkiness with some of these editors. Here's how you add an image. This one is probably the most important quirk that's here. When you set the spacing, you're left with many possible choices. No spacing at all, a spacing that comes from the top, the right, the bottom, the left, and overall. And you can see that the overall spacing for this box is set at 0. But when I look for the top spacing, okay, so all of these are actually set at 0. I'm glad I did this. Okay, did you see how that shrunk, that I no longer have any excess space top or bottom here? If I go ahead and I want to set some spacing, let's say from the bottom, I'm going to increase this, this little bit of depth right here. We're going to add some space, and I can go ahead and reduce that back if I don't want anything there, and I don't. Similarly, we can choose to add it all the way around, and now everything will expand, just like so. Some of these text boxes, I just click outside there, it takes you away. If I click in here again, let's take a look at the spacing here. It comes with spacing that's pre-selected. So if you're wondering why when you highlight the box there's all this extra space up here and down here and at the side, this is where that is happening. And if I select no spacing, all that spacing now goes away. Now when I highlight over that box, there's no excess space at the top, bottom, left, or right. And you can adjust that to your preference. This here allows you to set a border. You can say that there's no border. You want it to be top, right, bottom, left, or all the way around. And when you select one of these, you can select a border pattern, a pixel size, and a color. Okay. So that's just an overview of just some of the basic editors here. Over at the right side here, you can choose to add in different blocks for either images, text, or a text and image, along with the horizontal ruler. The horizontal rulers are these right here. When I click in there, I'm able to choose between different line styles, make it a different color, etc. So let's go ahead and let's delete this text here, and let's say I want to add in a text and image block. I'm going to drag it right in between these two until the box is there, and you'll notice that this snaps to the 672 pixels, the width there, which is also what's in the message up here, and it took on a height of 165 pixels. Okay. When I click into here, it's going to give me a text editor, but it also then allows me to choose my image. In my image here, I can choose to increase its size by clicking and dragging, vertically as well as horizontally. When I click once on Choose Image, the iStock photo library comes up. This is built in to GetResponse. It gives you access to many different choices of pre-existing content that is chosen in advance by various editors. You can choose to work with this content, or you can find it in My Images here. Now, these happen to be some images that I've uploaded from my hard drive that I just happen to have lying around, or I had chosen a couple of images from the iStock library. So let's go ahead and enter this image here. We're going to click Use Image, and there it goes. Okay, so we have a couple ways to edit this image. This is a zoom slider that allows you to zoom in and out for the image. You see what's going on here right now? There's a little bit of space beneath the image here and to this side. In part, that is controlled by this spacing here. If I want no spacing, we're going to set that to 0, and now I can zoom in, and you see how the image maxes out at the bottom before it maxes out at the right side? The reason for that is because the picture has a specific aspect ratio, a ratio of height to width, and the actual image box also has its own aspect ratio. This is another aspect of knowing your requirements for your messages in advance. If you can get the image to the point where you know what the aspect ratio is here in advance, and you can set all of the images in your gallery to have a set aspect ratio, you won't have to deal with zooming in and out to get rid of any lines in your boxes. Okay? I'm going to zoom in here to fill that box completely, and I'm going to click outside, and there's my image. Now when I go over it and I click in here, you can see that there are no borders around this image at all. We can select it to decrease its size. We can select this, and we can move it around if we want to. But this is one limitation to this editor. You can see that I'm having a very difficult time getting this image back in with the text. I mean, I can do it, but it's a little finicky. You got to be very, very careful with what you choose, and that I was able to swap it from one side to the next. Okay. If I've clicked on the image here, I can also choose its width, and I can choose its height. I can also choose to add a new row or add a new column, and that works the same way as it did anywhere else. Okay. So when I click on the image here, here's the easier way to swap the sides. Here it is on the left side of the little box to the left of the text. Now there it is on the right. Much easier than trying to click and drag and move it all over the place. Okay. When I've clicked in the image here, let me get back into the editor here, and I want to zoom around with it. Okay. Once I've clicked inside the image, I can move the image around. Okay. Note that it won't let me move it left to right. That's because I have the maximum width of the picture already left to right, but I have obscured part of it vertically since I shrunk the image vertically. If I increase it here, now I can move it left to right because I've hidden some of the image by zooming it. Okay. We can also do the same as the text. I can add a border, I can set the spacing, and we can put an alternative image in for the text. So if for some reason the person who opens your email doesn't choose to have that image open, you can have some text in there that says like hand with a light bulb or something like that. Okay. I'm going to click back outside here, and again I can go in, I can edit the text, and that's the same as it was anywhere else. Okay. And again, without clicking into any place here, I can grab this move icon and I can stick it wherever I want. Okay. Now, here's where you can see things moving around. This is one limitation that I have found when using GetResponse with Internet Explorer. I'm using this one in Firefox, and it works just as well in Chrome. In fact, it works better in Chrome. Internet Explorer tends to crash when you try to move these around, and when you try to select any one of these and drag it over it does not work very well in Internet Explorer. I do not know why, but it's just another reason to upgrade to Chrome. It's a much better browser with a vast majority of add-ons that just work really well. So I highly encourage you that if you've adopted GetResponse, use it in Chrome or Firefox. It will just make your life so much easier. When you're ready to proceed with your email, you can come down here, and they have some very interesting features down here. You can take a look at an HTML editor if you want to. You can add some attachments, but here, this test message here, this is really important, all three of these here. You can send it as a test message to a given email address to see if it's going to go through. You can have it scored on spam, which gives you a probability of whether or not it's going to wind up in a spam filter. But this is probably the most useful feature of here, which is called Inbox Preview. And I'm not going to wait for all of these to load, because it does take a while to get all of these in here, but you can select which web-based desktop or mobile client that you want to have your emails previewed in, so that you know how it's going to look in those clients before you send the email out. It's a very powerful feature in GetResponse, and I encourage you to take advantage of it when you can. This opened a new tab in my email browser when I opened it up, so I'm going to close that tab now, and we're going to come right back where we are. Okay. So once you've tested the message and you have a spam score, we're going to click on Next Step. And that's going to take you out of the create function and into the recipients function. Here's where you want to select which campaign you want to have it go to. Now, I would select the campaign here, which goes like that, and I only have 5 subscribers in that account, so we're going to have 5 people who are going to receive this message. You can also select your contacts manually, but this is a very tedious process. Much better to import the right number of contacts in the first place, so that you know it's being sent to everyone within a campaign, instead of trying to select people manually. You could also choose a segment if we had one. I do not have a segment selected, but a segment allows you to send it only to a proportion of an existing campaign. It's a very powerful tool if you know which segments you need. Again, you can select from your campaigns here. You can also select a suppression. And from here, we would select campaign, and we would go to the summary tab. And it's going to give you a spam score. It's going to tell you that your inbox hasn't been reviewed. It's going to show you which recipients are going to, and everything that's in through here, and you would click either schedule it to send it at a specific time on a specific day, or you could send it right now. Okay. So once you're happy with any of these, you can always go back to any one of these to review what you have done, or you can simply click exit here, and exit's what I'm going to do. Now, once you've created your newsletter or your email, they're the same thing in GetResponse. We can go up to Messages, and we can go to My Newsletters, and it will show me here that I have a draft. It gives me my spam score and allows me to edit, preview, test, or delete any of these things. So if I click Edit, it brings me right back to the start screen here, and I can click on the Create tab if you're happy with everything that was there, and we're right back where we were before. And just as before, if I go down here to Previous Step, we can go back to where we were in the previous step in this here, and then I can click on Exit, and I'm right back to the dashboard. Okay? So that's a basic overview of how to create emails and GetResponse using the email creator.